It's time for my fall series wrap-up, winter series TBR. I do this every season. I'll link it in the cards, the last one. This is where I basically tell you, here are the series and how far I got. I will point to any reviews I may or may not have done, but this isn't me trying to go too much in depth. It's more, like I said, mini wrap-up of what I've done and a TBR for what I hope to get to in the winter. And I've got it all written down on some sheets of paper, and let's go. So let's start with series that I have finished in the fall. The first one, I should have it finished, or I have started Revenant Gun. By the time you're watching this video, I have picked up Revenant Gun to buddy read with Kayla from Crack Into a Good Book and Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena, who I have convinced to start the series, and they're loving it. So as you're watching this, I have been reading, if not finished, Revenant Gun. So that means I will have finished the Machinery's Empire series, except for the short story collection, but I'm not counting that. That's not a part of the trilogy. That's just like extra episodes. I also finished the Davabad trilogy. I finished Empire of Gold, really liked it. And I finished the Binti trilogy and have a review for that trilogy, and I will link that in the cards if you are curious. Series that I caught up on. I am currently reading Jade War, so I will be caught up on the Greenbone saga probably by the time you're seeing this, if not in a few days. This is a series that I expected to like, and I'm really liking. It's very political, urban fantasy, mafia drama with some pretty fun magic. I really like the consequences associated with the magic system, and of course, I mean, I don't know what my response to Jade War will be, but based off what everyone's saying, I read this way too early, and I'm gonna have to reread it before Jade Legacy, but that's okay. I also finally caught up with the Founders trilogy, so I read Shorefall. I might link the vlog in the description or in the cards for you because I had a really fun time reading it. I binged that tome in like 3 days. It was a really great time. Once again, all of my characters are in grave peril, and I have no idea what's gonna happen, and we do not know when the third book's coming out. But I really like it. Robert Jackson Bennett is just like perfect fantasy pleasure reads for me, and that was just like top notch. I also caught up with the Stormlight Archive. I've read everything in the Stormlight Archive, I guess, at this point. I think since I last checked in with these types of wrap-ups, I've read Edgedancer, Oathbringer, Dawnshard, and Rhythm of War, and I have spoiler reaction vlogs to Rhythm of War that I will for sure link in the cards. I had so much fun filming those and reacting, and I'm glad I just have them for myself to remember all the crazy theories I had as I was reading that story. I love the Stormlight Archives, guys. I'm pretty sure by the time you're seeing this, I have posted my Should You Read the Stormlight Archives video, and that's, if you are curious, if you're like, oh, but it's so long, I don't know, I do try to be very, objective's a weird word, but I really try to make sure you understand if it's the right series for you. I don't just gush. I promise. It actually has criticism in it, I promise. But I love that series in a purely gushing way. It's my favorite ongoing series of all time. So it's been a great journey. I also read the first book of the Between the Earth and Sky series, so Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I have a review for that book. I have mixed thoughts about the ending, but really loved about 80% of the book before I got to the ending. And I don't mind if first books have a rough start or a bad ending because it's the start of a very long journey. I'm very patient with fantasy books, so I have every expectation that this one will impress me more in the future, especially because the world is so good. I also started a young adult fantasy series. I read Incendiary in the fall, and I really liked it. Granted, it had the fantasy YA tropes that I love. It was really fun. It had like such a fast start, had kind of a calm second act, and then the third act was like, whoa. I really liked it. I really hope things that I want to have happen in the second book. I'm really interested. I haven't had a young adult series that was like truly young adult. We're not talking new adult. Like this is young adult that like I've been shipping characters. Like that's been really fun. So, and I will link down below for sure. We did a live show discussion on this book that was a blast with the Space Sirens book club. We had such a good time. So if you've read that book and you've been wanting to, I don't know, experience other people enjoying it, I highly recommend watching that. Now, series that I needed to continue, and I'm still continuing, we've got The Shadow Rising, the fourth Wheel of Time book. I finally read it. And it was fine. It was completely fine. It was too long. I really hold that that book is way too long for what is happening? At least I felt so exhausted that I could barely enjoy the ending. It reminded me of how exhausted I was in reading Oathbringer on my first read. So like, not like a horrendous comparison, right? I mean, I love Oathbringer, but there's also repetitive theming that I didn't love. One of these days, I'm gonna make a video about my experience with The Wheel of Time, probably after I finish the 6th book, because I know that that's like the first big arc, and then it goes into the slog, and then we have the end game. At least that's my current understanding. So I'm going to make that video one day, but I want to give it 2 more books, and I am having a blast buddy reading it with my friend Stephanie at Miss Richards Reads, and Jade from Bedtime Bookworm likes to lurk in our Voxer, which has been like a blast. So my experience has been great, but the book itself, I don't know if it's overhyped, I don't know what's happening, but I keep not connecting with it the way I want to. And then I read Baptism of Fire, the 3rd Witcher novel, and this is my favorite of the novels. Still doesn't beat Last Wish for me, but it does beat Sword of Destiny. And I really liked it. It had a lot of Geralt, it had a lot of Dandelion, which is apparently how you're supposed to say Dandelion's name. Who knew? But I really liked it. It had some really great discussions. I'm hoping we keep that going. I'm hoping. I'm unsure. But those are all the series that I finished, continued, caught up on, and now let's get into my winter series TBR. I am overambitious for this. I mean, normally I only ask myself to read like 1 book in each series, and if I skip it 1 season, get back to it the following season. I'm pretty lax on myself. This is more of just an accountability system, but I'm intimidated by this list. First of all, I want to continue Wheel of Time, so Fires of Heaven. I'm going to continue that probably February, basically because I know what I'm reading in January and I'm scared, but that's for sure happening. I need to read Tower of Swallows, which I was hoping to get to in December, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But I want to continue the Witcher series, which I've been just slowly picking away at. I've been reading it for about a year now, and I've been putting off Storm of Locusts, which is the 2nd book in the 6 World series, so I want to get to that. I read Black Sun instead of reading that, so I need to get back into that because I do want to continue that series, even though we don't really know where the next book is, but I have heard that it's a pretty satisfying ending, even though it's not like a duology. So I love Rebecca Roanhorse's writing, so I want to read that. I am rereading the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden. I'm very excited. I am starting The Baron and the Nightingale the week you're watching this, and presumably going to keep rereading the rest because, yeah, I really love it. It's also like the winter series. If you haven't read it, you're gonna feel cold. Like if you want to feel cold, to all my friends in Florida, if you need those vibes in your life, you'll feel cold. But I really love it. It's a great coming of age trilogy with great like old god influences and going against gender norms, and it's just really good. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I want to read the Live Ship Trader series, so Ship of Magic is on the docket. I need to pick it up. I've been avoiding it. It was on my fall series TBR and it didn't happen. It has to happen. But then I'm nervous because this wasn't supposed to be on the list. But all my friends peer pressured me, and I'm a sucker for buddy reads. So I'm gonna read the first book in Malazan, Book of the Fallen, or Malazan, whatever it is. I like Malazan, but if it's Malazan, it's Malazan. I don't know. I'm gonna hate closed captioning that last sentence. But I'm gonna read it. And it's gonna be so confusing, but I'm gonna have friends, and hopefully I actually really like it. I have no expectations for how I'm gonna connect with the writing or the characters, and if either one of those things works, it doesn't matter how confusing it is. I'll make it. But boy, am I scared and intimidated. The original plan was to wait till after I finished Wheel of Time, but all my friends are reading it in January, so I had a fear of missing out, and here I am. I also still need to pick up Leviathan Wakes. That's on the series I want to get to in 2021. It's the first book in the Expanse series, very popular, and the last book comes out this year, so I kind of want to... I feel like I can start it now because it has an end in sight. Another series from my end of the year series of 2021 is Wild Seed by Octavia E. Butler. Don't have any clue what that's about. I just trust her writing and all my friends that love her, so I'm excited to pick that up because I've been wanting to read another Octavia Butler for a long time. So it's happening. Also, if you've seen a recent vlog, I somehow started rereading ACOTAR. I blame Alan from Library at Alexandria, if I'm honest. He started making this vlog of the first book that he hated. He hated the book. But it helped me like reread that book. And I'm like, cool, now I can read the second book. That's my favorite. Let's do it. And after Rhythm of War, it's what I needed. So here I am. And then I wasn't going to read the third book, but the plot is so addictive, even if it's just fine. So I'm going to read the third one because Nesta's book comes out in February. So yeah, I'm a mess. So that happened. That wasn't in the plans. And then of course I need to read Burning God, which is the third book in the Poppy War series. I've read the first two, and I read Dragon Republic in the summer, so I need to get to the Burning God before I forget everything that happened in Dragon Republic and I have to reread the whole series, which wouldn't be the end of the world, but I would like to see how it ends, and I currently have it on my Kindle, so I should do that. And then the last one I'll bring up that was also on series to start in 2021 is the Murderbot series. Whenever I'm feeling way too intimidated by all these long books, I can pick up a novella. It'll be great. I'm overwhelmed, guys. These are a lot of books to try and get to in 3 months, but here I am. And a lot of them are, I mean, some are rereads. A lot come highly recommended. And I for sure know at this point there are some on here that I'm reading that I don't have on the list. Yeah, like I'm for sure continuing A Memory Called Empire, because I'm reading A Memory Called Empire now, and I have the arc for A Desolation Called Peace. So that's also happening. Last minute edition. And I guess a last minute edition is I got Rage of Dragons from the library. So that's probably happening soon, or I'm just giving this book back. I'm a mess, guys, but I'm also excited. So many of these books are so good. But that's my winter series TBR. I hope you liked it. If you can't tell, this is the third video I've filmed today, then you're not paying attention. But otherwise, if you made it this far, leave a huge stack of books in the description below, maybe multiple books. I don't know. You know that book emoji, just like tap it a lot. Or you can just leave a smile. Per usual, I don't actually care how you do it, but if you just want me to know you're there and you don't got the spoons for a comment, I feel you. And like if you like it, subscribe if you want to. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.